For those who wish to go deeper, a helicopter view of flooding, the technical and hydrological dimension of the flooding problem. A warning from Jakarta, a city forced to retreat. Before examining flooding in Metro Manila, it is worth looking at Jakarta. Jakarta is no longer relocating its capital out of ambition or political choice. It is being forced to move. Decades of unchecked groundwater extraction, coastal development, and loss of natural water storage caused widespread land subsidence. Large portions of the city now sit below sea level, dependent on pumps and seawalls that must function without failure. Jakarta teaches a hard lesson. When hydrology is ignored long enough, engineering can only delay collapse, not reverse it. Metro Manila still has a choice. Jakarta no longer does. Flooding is a watershed problem, not a city problem. Flooding in Metro Manila is often framed as a city, provincial, or political problem. In truth, it is none of these. It is a watershed problem. Water does not recognize political boundaries. It responds only to gravity, storage, timing, and resistance. Any flood control strategy that ignores this reality is bound to fail. At the center of Metro Manila's flooding is the interaction of three powerful hydrological forces: Pampanga River, Laguna Lake, Manila Bay. These are not separate systems. They function as one connected hydraulic body. What happens in one inevitably affects the others. Flood control cannot be separated from water. Supply flood control and water supply are often treated as separate concerns. This is a serious mistake. A true flood control solution must also secure water for the dry season. This requires allowing Laguna Lake to breathe, to function again as a natural buffer, regulator, and freshwater reserve. If floodwater is expelled too quickly without restoring storage, the problem is merely shifted downstream while precious water is lost, only to be missed months later. Ondoy must never be allowed to recur. The flooding caused by Ondoy was not an anomaly. It was a system failure. Trying to solve flooding in Marikina is already too late. Flood mitigation must be addressed upstream, where water volume and timing can still be controlled. Once floodwater converges in dense urban areas, solutions become costly, disruptive, and limited. The effect of Manila Bay reclamation. Reclamation in Manila Bay is not a local coastal issue. It is a system-level hydrological intervention with consequences that extend far inland. Reclamation produces unavoidable effects. Loss of temporary storage. Manila Bay serves as a receiving and buffering zone during extreme rainfall. Reclamation reduces this space, forcing water to remain longer within rivers and urban areas. Backwater and tidal locking. Reclaimed land alters tidal behavior, increasing backwater effects. During high tide, river discharge slows or reverses, worsening upstream flooding. Risk transfer, not risk removal. Pumps and flood walls do not eliminate flooding. They transfer risk elsewhere, increasing dependence on power, maintenance, and perfect operation. Jakarta followed this path. The outcome is a city that must be defended every hour of every day. What flood control is not there are clear indicators of false solutions. Riverbank concreting is not flood control, it is bank protection or beautification. Cosmetic widening and lining of creeks and rivers are stress relief measures, not cures. Faster drainage alone often moves flooding downstream, where damage becomes worse. True flood control manages where water goes, when it moves, and how much is allowed to accumulate. The hydrological implications of the Bulacan Airport. The hydrological impact of the Bulacan airport must be studied with honesty and rigor. Large filled or reclaimed areas alter natural drainage paths, storage volumes, and flood timing. Even with proper compaction, displaced water must surface elsewhere. Ignoring this reality invites long-term flooding and subsidence risks. Groundwater extraction must stop uncontrolled. Groundwater extraction has already caused widespread land subsidence across Metro Manila. This must stop. At the same time, Laguna Lake must be allowed to breathe. This requires a master-planned, phased reduction of fish pens and fish ponds. This is not merely technical. It is a policy choice. The interest of a small group versus the survival and water security of millions. An ecological collapse of Laguna Lake is irreversible. Once lost, it cannot be engineered back. Laguna Lake is our last card. Lose it and we go thirsty. Understanding Malabon. Geography, not neglect. The flooding of Malabon is not accidental. It is geographical. Hundreds of years ago, settlers chose Malabon because it was the lowest natural point, ideal for boats and trade. That geography defined Metro Manila's hydrology. What failed was not settlement, but our failure to adapt planning and protection as the city expanded. When Malabon's importance diminished, we did not compensate with system-level infrastructure. The core truth flooding in Metro Manila is not due to lack of effort or funding. It is the result of fragmented thinking. Until flood control is treated as a watershed-scale, system-managed problem, no amount of pumping, dredging, or concreting will solve it. Jakarta shows what happens when action comes too late. Manila still has a choice, but not forever.